it, or at least I believe it hits differently when you have just that knowledge, is because information and application that equals transformation. So like you really get to experience stuff on another level when you learn something. You actually apply what you learn without hesitation or delay, and then you'll get the results you're looking for. But if you
Talk
got
that talk, sir.
Man, but not for real. If you got information, but there's no implementation or application, it's just gonna lead to frustration. You just gonna be mad at at the fruit that you think you would get, but you're not gonna get it because you didn't sow.
Hi, everybody. Lee Scott here. Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee. We talk about life, leadership, and legacy, and want to help you discover the leadership within. I'm so excited that you are here today to listen or watch this episode on YouTube or listen on podcasting platforms. But before I introduce my guest, if you have not done it yet, go and subscribe to Leading with Lee on YouTube. And as I said, all podcasting platforms. I'm so excited today because my guest today is somebody I have known for over a decade. We were classmates in high school, and he's just a great individual. And it's been great to see his journey so far and see all the things he has accomplished so far. So please welcome to Leading with Lee, Mr. Amazing himself, my guy, Henry Goss. How you doing, Henry?
Man, I'm amazing. Man, God is amazing. Life is amazing. I definitely want to thank you, like right from the beginning, just for having me on, for trusting me with your audience, and I don't take that lightly. And I'm just excited to be here.
Well, thank you for saying yes, Henry. So with that being said, if you just would do me a favor and share just kind of about your business and what you do and some of the things that you like are actually involved and engaged in.
Got you, man. Well, again, everybody, my name is Henry Goss Jr. I go by Henry Amazin. I'm a content creator, podcaster, and I'm the founder of the Amazin Agency, which is a strategic communications and consultancy firm. And we specialize in social media management and content marketing, and the strategy behind it as well. Our goal is to really help you do ABC, attract your audience, build that deeper connection, so that you can connect them to convert them to do whatever your desired outcome is.
Ooh, that's a great promotion for a business having an ABC format for that. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about that, because Henry,
Okay.
I don't think people just start businesses willy-nilly. I think that people do things intentionally. So kind of
Yeah.
talk to me about, kind of where did that start? Why did you start your company? And where did the idea of the amazing brand come from?
Man, so I'll do the brand first, and then the brand, because the brand actually came before the business.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time. But I remember back in like 2011, I was a junior in high school at Murrah. Shout out to all the Murrah
Let's
Mustangs.
go.
But I was like trying
1400.
but yeah, I was trying to just change my social media name, because at first it was Henry Saxey, because I played the alto saxophone in the band. And I was like, yeah, that sounded cool. That was punny, but like I need something that'll like stick, or at least something that sounded cool. I remember I saw this dude, his username was Freddie Amazing, but he was posting or basically like resharing popular tweets and stuff. So it's like, I mean, he's like what I consider like one of those tweet deck users.
Yeah.
But I was like, Freddie Amazing, that sounds cool, but Henry Amazing, no.
Sounds
And I
even
was like,
better.
you know what? I'm gonna just go with it. And
Yeah.
it's funny because it was available on like everywhere, no matter. I've never had an issue securing the name Henry Amazing. So much so that that's why I even made sure I bought the domain name henryamazing.com. Because that's one thing about branding. You want to make sure, if you can, to have everything uniform, because it
Wow.
makes it easy. Like follow me at insert your name where on all platforms.
Yeah.
Again, back then I didn't know I was branding myself.
Wow.
For real. It wasn't until I really got deep into just marketing, outside of what I learned in college. Um, just like the real world application of it. where I realized that personal branding is so important because you could do anything. And if people fall in love with the personal brand, they will support it, whether you're doing menswear accessories, which I did, you're doing a t-shirt, which I did, or even now, where I'm offering my services
Yeah.
to like business owners. So it's really like there's so much power in the personal brand. Uh, and then going to the business side, uh, I just got a point in my journey where I realized, like, hey, I developed this skill and I'm doing really well with it. It's produced results for me and it's produced results for others that, trusted me to offer my services to help them grow their impact and their income. And it worked. And I was like, okay, if I have this skill, I've proven it. I need to offer this because the
Yeah.
market needs what I offer.
Yeah. 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 That's good. And so that led you to, with your brand, it led you to actually step out and say, you know what? I think this is a business. I think this is a concept. Kind of
Mhm.
unpack a little bit more about just even the handle thing. Cause I think
Mhm.
sometimes there's a proverb that we know that, the people perish because of lack of knowledge, right? And and so a lot of times people don't realize or know how important it is. Kind of talk a little bit from a marketing perspective why
Mhm.
uniformity matters, because I think
Man,
sometimes we're not really coached or talked about this, and that's just something from general. Even if I don't have a business, why is it so important for my stuff to be uniform?
man, I just think it makes it easy to remember. Like it makes it sticky. So instead of you being like, hey, follow me at Henry Amazing 601 on Instagram, or follow me at the Henry Amazing on Twitter, and
Right.
then Mr. Henry Amazing on like TikTok or Snapchat, like
Yeah.
instead of me doing it like that, I could literally say one thing and it will resonate no matter what. And if we talking from like just a business perspective in the sense of like finances and like the money you spend, it's easier to buy something once that you don't have to change
That's true.
versus having to buy multiple variations
Yeah.
of a thing. So that's another reason. And I'll say, speaking to why it's important to, or if you can, because some stuff, we'll have a great idea, but there's someone else that had the same idea. They may have had it,
Yes.
a day before us, a second, a month, or even some years.
Oh
And
yeah.
now they've secured that, username. But uniformity is important because it's all about securing your digital real estate. Like real estate don't only matter, when you look outside like the houses, the commercial buildings. No, like digital real estate matters. Like every profile is basically like a house, just the way I look at it.
Wow.
Um, like every username is a house. It's like it really is because we're all media companies. Like we aren't just like, oh, yes, I'm Henry. I like my
Wow.
brand is Henry Amazing, but like I am a media company. Because again, everything I post, people like someone can consume.
Yeah.
Therefore, if I'm a media company, then I want to make sure I'm doing the things that the million, billion, trillion dollar brands are doing. They're making sure that they establish their presence online because you never know where you can, well, one, you do know where your audience is, but you never know what single piece of content you put out that will be the determining factor for
Hmm.
them to, support your business. So it's just all that wrapped in one, which again, I didn't realize I even just knew for real until I like looked up because I stayed a student. I just learn and do, but I never
Yeah.
realized how much I've accumulated until I zoom out and I'm like, oh wait, I know XYZ. Let me
Yeah.
make sure I let my friend know who's starting to do this thing. Like, hey, here's some steps I did so you
Yeah.
can, accelerate the journey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like Henry, that's really insightful. Because I even realized we need to have some off-camera conversations about this. Uh, because most of my stuff is pretty uniform, but I think there is some, trying to deviate, right? Because
Mhm.
I know for me, and there might be some person who listens to this or watches this that are like, okay, Henry, that's a great advice. I agree with you, but I also don't want people to pigeonhole me, right?
Mm,
I talked about this in the last episode of leading, how a lot of times we interpret a person based on when we met them. Like
mhm,
however we met this person, that we assume that that is all of who that person is, right? Like
mm,
all of us play a different role in somebody's life. But in that, I think that we have to be intentional a little bit about doing what you're talking about is
mhm,
if this is where the money is,
mm.
though you're a whole person, you got to go where the money is because that's going to fund everything else you want to do, right? Like that, that's very practical. That makes sense. I think that's great advice and very insightful. So we're talking about branding for a second, and we'll get
Mm,
back to it, but we talked about this before, right? We talked
mm.
about how entrepreneurship was something you kind of have always had an affinity for. You mentioned earlier about
Yeah,
your tie company,
yeah, man.
how you were doing that, and I actually remember it, Henry. I remember you posting, I've seen a lot of lapel, a lot of shots doing this,
Yeah,
doing it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them shots, but that had to start somewhere, right? That didn't start when you started the Amazing brand, right? Kind of
right.
talk to me about like what got you motivated to get into entrepreneurship or look at that as a way for you to show up in the world.
Man, I'll say it's been what you get. I didn't at the time had no clue that it really started since I was little. Like, doing the fundraisers when I was in, elementary, like for some reason, well, I'll say I really got to give the credit to my parents because they had me in church, and what in church the kids, all the programs like Easter program, Christmas
Yeah.
program, et cetera, et cetera. Like they helped me really build my communication skill, and especially my public speaking, like just being in front of the crowd with the message and sharing that.
Yeah.
So doing that made it easier when I like got interested as a little kid. Again, doing the fundraisers, like I was really good at raising funds because I could talk to people, I could communicate with them,
That's that's
and
that's
I feel
good to
like
know, Henry.
right, and so I just realized like, I can't like it when I communicate effectively, I can like, and I provide value to somebody, like this could be profitable for me.
Yeah.
So I like sold candy in like middle school, although that was short lived, but I did it, and it was funny because the way I sold it was actually what taught me a lesson that I used when I started the tie company. But long story short, I couldn't go to Sam's or like to a store to get my candy. So what I would do is there was a guy on my bus selling the candy at what I would consider now like wholesale prices. Like it was really
Yeah.
cheap, like 50 cents. I would literally buy the candy off him like first thing in the morning, like the stuff he had fresh. I went ahead and copped it first thing. And I bought
Wise
the 50
man.
cent, right? Like I bought it for 50 cents, took it to my class and resold it at $1, made that, kept the profit. So I just learned different principles that helped me because when I did the tie business, I was buying the supply. Like I tried to make the stuff myself. It 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 was just a no. I took the L. I failed, but I learned that like sewing really wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
However, I did find some suppliers overseas and in the U.S. And I bought the items wholesale, and then I like sold them for retail, and it was so, bro, the numbers were so insane that I could literally discount the resale price by 50% and still make triple of
Wow.
what I invested in product. So it like even doing that, even though the amount, it wasn't like no insane amount, like it wasn't like 20, 30,000 that I made with the first business. But what I did make was the connection that okay, if I invest something, if I sow something,
Yeah.
but and not just money, like if I sold time in connecting with my audience, if I sold time understanding what they're looking for, because they aren't just looking for the product I'm selling. No, what they're after is what's gonna make them feel good, what's gonna make them
Yes.
feel better, what's gonna make them feel like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, this tie, this lapel pin costs X amount of dollars, but the value I'm getting for it gonna make me feel like a million, billion,
Yes.
$1 trillion man. Like it's stuff like that that I like learned from them earlier experiences that is helping me now today.
Oh, Henry, that's so great. Because what you're getting at is all those small like nuggets of those breadcrumbs that you
Mm-hmm,
experience or moments of affirmation
mm-hmm,
actually are principles that you're building on now in your business, and
mm-hmm.
it's helping you move forward in a way that most people by the time they're our age they're just getting to, right? Like some of the things you're talking about, Henry, is things you can't learn in school. Like some of these you're talking about is very experiential. That's what I
Yeah,
say.
and I'll say the like, which I have nothing against school. I will say I did like fall for the entrepreneur sauce in the first couple of years just because of what I was hearing people say online. So I used to believe like, oh man, you don't need school. School is whack, et cetera, et cetera. No, that is not the truth. What school does is give us theory, one, but it
Yes.
also gives us found the theory is foundational to the stuff that we're gonna get
Right.
when we actually experience it.
Right.
Like it's one thing to go through a situation and you just learn from the situation. It's a different thing when you have like some foundational, like you already know a little something, and then you get to compare what you know with the stuff that actually
Yes.
happened in real life. And now that gives you a more, or at least for me, it gave me even more detailed view or a more wiser view of what I was just going through, what I've learned, than just what I would have got if I had no like basic
Yeah.
foundational understanding.
Yeah. That's good. It made me think about just even my own life, how a lot of the leadership opportunities that I got was very early on. I wasn't looking for them, trust me, Henry. I was like, I'll pass. You can get it as somebody else, but just was given opportunities. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, what was probably good when I got in college? Both of my degrees are in leadership. Oh, I learned about the theory of leadership, right? I
Mhm,
learned some principles that only sharpened my knife, right? Like it
mhm,
wasn't that the knife didn't work, it just sharpened it and made it more precise in its
mhm.
impact because now I have the tools to support that. I mean, you're so right and it's so good. Um,
And then I'll just say this too to just like round it out. The reason it, or at least I believe it hits differently when you have just that knowledge, is because information and application that equals transformation. So like you really get to experience stuff on another level when you learn something. You actually apply what you learn without hesitation or delay, and then you'll get the results you're looking for. But if you
Talk
got,
that talk, sir.
man, but not for real. If you got information, but there's no implementation or application, it's just gonna lead to frustration. You're just gonna be mad at the fruit that you think you would get, but you're not gonna get it because you didn't sow. So yeah.
You know, I'm trying to not act a fool. This is a leadership podcast and blog, and you just really taught us something profound. Uh, uh, elder Elder Goss. I'm just mess
Man,
with you, Henry. Uh, uh, but no, that's good. That's good, Henry. Like we that it is important for us to actually be about that life. Like
mhm.
we just can't receive information and not have the courage to step out and do something with it. Because I think too often in our environment and culture, and especially as millennials, man, we're on the younger side of millennials, so we're closer to Gen Z in a lot of ways. But it's so easy now to
Mhm.
think you can't start because other people are doing something similar.
Mhm.
I say all the time on here is it's just because something is similar, it does not necessarily mean it's the same. Like
Mm,
there's a unique expression because it's you. Like your whole story is unique and specific to you. And so it gets back to your point. Like we cannot miss the
mm,
opportunity to really fulfill our dreams or just step out because we are, for whatever reason, trying to rationalize in our minds whether or not we can be successful or go about a thing.
mhm,
Like it's important for us to actually be about that life, like go after it, actually take a chance and really move forward in a significant way. I want to move a little bit because we can stay there all day, Henry. I, I
nah,
mean, I mean,
definitely.
you
It's
you
even funny because like a thought hit me as you were going. It's like because again, this is a leadership podcast, right? Even if we look at the word leadership, because I love words. I believe words are very intentional. Like we're talking about leadership, but if you break leadership down, leadership is the trait of a what? A leader. But a leader is only a leader if he does what? If he leads. So leadership is for leaders who lead. So it's like it's just the interconnectivity of it. But a leader can't develop their leadership if they don't lead. You can learn the
come on
stuff,
now.
but if you're not actually accepting the opportunities to lead, you won't develop as a leader and have, that leadership trait. So it's yeah, we could be there like forever, 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 for real.
Henry, let me move on. What you about to say? What you about to say? Because
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, even just because in my journey, I like everything wasn't great. Like it wasn't all just wins. I did experience like some lessons and some tough moments. One of the biggest ones was not understanding the value that I bring to any table. Because a lot of times we want seats at tables, not realizing like, hey, the tables are made for us to show up and be our authentic self.
yeah,
I didn't know that. So
that's
I went
good,
through moments
Henry.
in like 2018 and 2019 where I was having like this really bad bout with imposter syndrome. I'm thinking because, yeah, I've been learning from certain people and the success they've had on like what I feel like is astronomical levels. Like to do at that time to me, like if you did 6 figures, 7 figures, that like blew my mind. Like, oh my goodness, you felt like it was untouchable to me, or at the time, that's what I felt like. And over time, well, because I felt like certain people were untouchable and they were doing the thing I was like developing at, it caused me to not show up as myself because I felt like there were too many people already doing the thing I'm trying to do, not realizing exactly what you said. A person can do what they do, but they not you, and you not them, and it ain't no
Hello,
disrespect in saying that. But it's just like even if we talking basketball, like just because MJ is MJ, that don't mean Kobe can't show up and be Kobe.
hello.
That don't mean LeBron can't show up and be LeBron. And if you ain't
Right,
Kobe or LeBron, that don't mean you got to stop playing basketball.
right, right. I mean, and let's just even go further with that specific analogy because that's
Mhm,
money. Even
mhm,
in their era, there were still other
mhm.
greats. Like Jordan played in the league when Bird was in the league, when
Yep,
Magic was in the league, when
yep,
Elijah Wan was in the league, when Charles Barkley was in the league, when Karl Malone was in the league. Like there were other great Hall of Fame players that was in the league when Michael Jordan was in the league. When Kobe was in the league, Tim Duncan was in the league, Allen Iverson was in
mhm.
the league. You had
Exactly.
a bunch of other Ray Allen was in the league. Like you have that. LeBron in his era. You still got
Mhm,
Steph Curry. You still got KD. You still got Kyrie. You still got James Harden. Like
mhm,
it does not diminish other people's greatness
mhm,
in a space if somebody is great. It's just
mhm.
multiple people are just being great at what they do. And you're
Yep.
so Henry, you're so right. We have to move on
Thanks.
because like that's the whole podcast. If there's nothing else that people get from the first few minutes of this podcast, I hope that they understand what you're saying because too often in our society and culture, we ask people for permission to be ourselves. And the
Man.
reality is, nobody has the right to tell you if you can be you. They don't. There's only
Thanks.
there's only one create. Like I understand there may be people that have different views or perspectives, but from my perspective, there's only one creator.
Yep.
right? And he's the one that created us, right? So like,
Mhm.
I don't have to prove it to one person. I ain't got to
Right.
prove it to nobody else. I got
Mhm.
to be myself, and I have to operate in my true, authentic design. And so when people don't do that, it's a disservice not to other people; it's a disservice to you. Like,
Man, that-
there are people that are Hakeem Olajuwon fans who also
mhm.
like Shaquille O'Neal. Like you
Exactly.
can like multiple people. Like, Henry can
Mhm.
be great at marketing and an amazing brand marketer, and I can also like somebody else, and it does not diminish
Mhm.
Henry's gift or this other marketing person's gift. It's just it is what it is, right?
Mhm.
But I ain't gonna let you keep me there. I got more questions for you, Henry. So because you trying to keep me somewhere that I ain't prepared to stay. So let's move on, son, man. You and I kind of want to stay there with branding because there's so many things that we have to understand about our story, but it also indicates to me that you're willing to avail yourself to information, right? You're
Mhm.
willing to get into spaces and learn and listen. I've seen I've seen your podcasting stuff. I've seen you do setups, but I also have seen you on other folks' stuff. And we talked about this before, but could you share a little bit about the mastermind, man? Like, where does that concept come from?
Man.
How did you get involved? And
Mhm.
just kind of share with me about the impact that the concept of the mastermind has had on
Mhm.
you specifically.
Man, it's so funny. Just the journey of like how I got into the mastermind I'm in, which for those who don't know, I'm part of the Todd Capital Business Development Mastermind, where we not only help you grow your business, but grow as a person. And it has been a phenomenal like journey. I've been in for over a year, and I think like a year and 3 months now. And it's funny because the guy who created it, Charles Oglesby III, also known as Todd Millie, well, he go by Todd Billy now, but it was him and then Michelle Wells. Shout out to Michelle. They like created this really this movement, and it's so incredible to be a part of. It's funny because most people don't know, but like when I joined the mastermind, at that like I was going through a really rocky season in my life, and I remember whatever the normal price was, Todd he had made it like $10 to join. Right, literally that
Mm,
was like the last $10 I had. But when I
wow.
tell you, to God be the glory, I that $10 I like invested to be there, which people may look at only spending large sums of money as an investment, but I promise you, any dollar you put into yourself that is an investment, I literally have made over 100x off of that $10 I made, just off of connections, just off of really, this is like connections, information, just being in the right environment. Like it's incredible. And the reason it's like that, and the reason masterminds are powerful, because it goes to back to like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, like the mastermind principle, where when you put two or three people and you put their brains together, it's always going to be more knowledgeable, stronger, more powerful than one single brain by itself. So in there, it's people that have achieved business success in like multiple levels, whether you're talking 5, 6, and 7 figures, and really in different niches, because I know people say both, but basically in different industries, whether it's digital products, whether it's real estate. There's a guy in there that's killing it when it comes to the auto industry. Like it's so incredible and it's so beautiful to see, because especially in our mastermind, it's like a lot of people that look like me. It's like a lot of us, so that's even
Yeah.
more empowering because I get to see people that look like me
Yeah.
win, so that
Yeah.
lets me know I can win too.
Yeah. Oh man, Henry. Literally what I got from that was we are the sum of who we know and what we know.
Man, and who knows that we know what we know? Because that's man, because you can be
Brother,
the best secret, and that won't give you transformation. Sometimes you have to, well, not sometimes, all the time, you have to speak up for yourself and like let people know that you know what you know, that you have the capability to do things that will, help their business transform, help their business grow. or whatever value you offer to the market. You got
Yeah.
to let people know so that they can support you. You're robbing people of the opportunity to change their life or to help you change your life by you not putting your products and services out there to the market and letting them know that you can help them. Because while you're not showing up, the big bad wolf, they're out showing up. And they don't mind telling these people that they can do a thing that they know for a fact they can't do.
Wow. Well, Henry, on that note, we're going to take a break real quick and we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, everybody. Lee here, and I want to give some information to you. Do you need someone to host an event or come and speak at your event? You can now book yours truly. Book me for your event by visiting www.leeascott.com. I am so excited to connect with you and do work with you. Much love, and let's get started.
And we are back. I'm so excited. If you are still here, you have not wasted your time, because my friend Henry has been giving some gems and wisdom so far. So I'm gonna keep talking to Henry about this idea that he is developing and growing in. So Henry, let's talk some more about just your story and some things that you've been involved in and things you've moved in. You know, I've known you for over a decade. We were classmates at the Murrah High School on 1400 Murrah Drive,
Yes, sir.
here in Jackson, Mississippi. We were both in APAC. We were both involved in a very, very specific program at our school. Did you do open doors?
I did.
Come on now. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm saying? We out here, man. You know, we doing it big. But um, I wanted to talk to you. I'm shifting gears a bit, and we'll go back to marketing stuff. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. I've seen you over the years kind of get involved in activism in some way, shape, or fashion, or advocacy. You were super involved in college. I noticed that a lot. That every time you would post about something, you were super involved. Whether it was with your fraternity or with other organizations at Jackson State, or just people that you were connecting to. How has that influenced your work now? And do you think those experiences throughout college and kind of getting out and engaging people and being a part of civic organizations, do you think it does influence you and how you go about what you do?
I'll say, which is so funny because I didn't make that connection till now, but it really, so I have these like core pillars when it comes to just entrepreneurship, marketing, really just even content, like everything. And I call them like the 5 V's. You got to be valuable, be versatile, be vocal, be vulnerable, and then be visible. So yeah, valuable, versatile, visible, vocal, and then vulnerable. All of
Wow.
those 5 things were principles that I enacted while doing like the advocacy work that I
Yeah.
did. And a majority of that time was in college. I was part of the NAACP on campus, and of course, part of my fraternity. And both groups, like civic engagement, is like very crucial, especially like with Alpha. Voter registration and voter participation is like really, really big. That's one of our national programs. And of course, with the NAACP, just being one of the voices for our community and helping to enact change. And it's funny because I'm even wearing a sweatshirt now of like MLK. It's from a day of service, like, the MLK Day of Service.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like really, I guess it really goes, it helped me build those 5 core principles, core values, because you have to be able to communicate the value and be versatile in the way you do that, because people most often aren't interested in civic issues or in politics.
Right.
So but you have to, be vocal and go to and meet them where they are, so
Yes.
that not only do they
Yes.
see you, but they hear you when they do see you, and then also being vulnerable enough to like admit when certain stuff isn't as good, or just being transparent with people, because speaking on the advocacy side, a lot of people don't believe in the political process. They don't believe that they have political power,
Right.
but people do. And if you didn't have as much power as you really had, individuals wouldn't work so hard to peel back your political
Yes.
power uh, with each passing day. Like they wouldn't have think tanks, literally, trying to figure out how to disenfranchise you, or even the people that go to the prison system. They're able to have, like, they're able to vote, but even if they committed like felonies, but it's like certain, like if you didn't commit one of the felonies that really, you cannot vote. If you I think it's like 21 of them. If you didn't commit one of those, like you can still vote. And it's a lot of people that don't know that they have, the
Wow.
political power that they do. So again, all of that, which I guess you really see goes even more into like what makes me like me, just my like deep core values that I hold, because I do believe civic engagement is like crucial to the success of any community, and you have to be engaged. You have to be engaged in all areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
know there was no answer. So short answer, all that stuff, the 5 V's: being valuable, versatile, visible, vocal, and vulnerable. That literally shapes how I communicate in my messaging. Even when I'm doing it for clients, I make sure to like inject that into the marketing, because it just helps you connect with people, because it's really what people want. Like they want to be connected with as a human being, not as just a
Yeah.
number or a dollar sign or just a metric. Like people matter. They're more than just a like, more than just a
Yes.
share.
Yes. Yes. That's great. The 5 V's. That's the whole clip. I think that was great, great and very insightful, Henry. So, let's go back for a second to branding, because we're getting towards my last few questions for you. But let's go back to branding for a second, because um, you, I think everything you have said has been such a principle for life, right?
Mhm.
It has been a great insight into how someone who understands their gifting and understands how they show up in the world can be a lesson or a standard by which people actually apply to lives to do something significant. Like, Henry, it's been so great to just hear your perspective about certain things. So talk to me a little bit, because we were talking about this last week when we were trying to figure out some stuff.
Mhm.
And you were kind of telling me about just even the amazing podcast, what you might end up doing with that. But like, what are some of the things you're looking forward to in this upcoming year with your company? And what are you seeing happening, particularly in the marketing and branding space, that you feel like, hey, people need to be aware of,
Mhm.
and if they're going to go into this next year, this is a thing they should be thinking about as far as like branding and building a platform for themselves?
Yeah, I'll say I'm just looking forward to increasing like just more impact, providing more value at scale. Because it's really all about sharing value to the market, because we want to like do stuff that help people be better. Because transformation is like that lasts. People may forget what you said, they'll never forget how you feel, or how
Mm.
what you did, or what information you gave them helped them do something to just change their life. They'll never forget that. So that's what I really want to do, is just provide more value, more impact. Of course, as you mentioned, I do have the Amazin podcast, which is so funny because on there, I'm literally about to share my journey, because I took a year off from releasing episodes. And I just had so many life experiences that I think it'll be beneficial for people to learn. One of the biggest one, going back to what we said earlier about like the tables and like, being in different rooms, especially with like influential people. Like over the past year, I've been able to connect with so many people that are, they're pursuing their goals, they're making it happen on like some insane scales. And it was just really cool, and it was affirming for me, because I realized like, hey, you deserve to be in these spaces. Like you
Right.
bring value to this room as well.
Right.
And that was like, that lit. That was like a really big lesson that I had to learn, especially going through like imposter syndrome. Um, but yeah, that's one of the main things I'm looking forward to, impact and value. But the podcast, we're launching that back starting in December, and I have some really cool interviews already in the vault. But the ones I'm getting, I'm in the process of getting now, they're gonna be so good because I created the Amazing Podcast to help people unlock their greatness and be amazing. Because in each and every one of us, there's greatness, and we may not believe in ourselves, we may not choose ourselves, but we have to do it because we are great. That's why, like, one of my mantras is that every day is the perfect day to choose yourself,
Yeah.
which choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's literally you ensuring that you have the capacity and the bandwidth to be there for the people that are dependent
Yeah.
on you. You can't pour from no empty cup, like it's as
Oh
the
yeah.
so if you make sure that your cup never run dry, you will always have something to pour to others and be refilled.
Yeah. Now I actually just get why you tweet that a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. Which I guess I can even go into like just some actual tools and stuff I
Yeah,
use.
yeah. Definitely share some
Like,
lessons real quick.
yeah, so like
Please.
that tweet that comes out every single day, I have that automated. When somebody says they have their stuff automated, they just mean that they're using a platform or really just that a platform or a website that they can schedule their posts in advance so that without them manually having to press the button or press the tweet or the post, the computer or the platform or the system, it does it itself. I actually have my stuff set up on well, I've used shoot, what's one? Oh, there's Planoly, that's one. Hypefury.com that does have I think they do have a free version, but with the pay version you have just extra features. I've used that to automate tweets, and it's really cool because especially if your audience is on Twitter and you like get sales on Twitter, if you use Hype Fury or there's another one too, but
I have
Hype
one.
Fury, okay,
Uh
then
Buffer.
oh yeah,
Buffer's
Buffer.
great too.
Oh, and Tweet Hunter. That's it.
Yeah.
High Fury, Buffer, Tweet Hunter. I know High Fury and Tweet Hunter, you can automate the tweet to where after you get a certain number of likes, a certain number of retweets, that it will auto put a comment under there. So there's some people that will make a tweet and it gets some traction, it gets some engagement, and then they put a tweet promoting their product, service, book, you know, challenge, whatever the thing
Yeah.
they offer that. So that's one. Two, you can also use Buffer to automate your Instagram and your TikTok for everybody that use those platforms. Of course, Hootsuite is a really good tool to, schedule your posts. I'll say for if you ever feel like you get writer's block, there's a tool called copy.ai. And basically you put in some keywords
Hmm.
and press like submit, and it will, whatever the thing you're looking for, whether you're looking for a caption, a blog post, whatever you're trying to make
Wow.
AI will do it for you. Now, what I encourage people to do is to like use the AI as a guide because you want to make sure you put some emotion into the
Right. And authenticity also.
yeah, and it's hard. Well, I believe it's tough for a robot to communicate in the way that your audience receives because people have just different. It's just everybody has a communication style. Everybody has
Right.
emotion, and you can feel it. So you
Right.
want to make sure people feel you when you post.
Right.
Again, that's what gets people to like, share, so subscribe, like, do all of that
Yeah.
when you captivate them and you connect with them, and then you can convert them to do whatever it is you want them to do, whether it is to like, share, subscribe, or press purchase.
Yeah. That Henry, that's great. I'm gonna kind of move ahead with our conversation because man, this has been just so great, so insightful, so thoughtful. And I think if people, if there's anything people get out of this, is that Henry, you are amazing.
I
Uh,
appreciate
and
it. You
and
are as well.
and you really understand. It is very apparent that you understand who you are at this point. Like those experiences that felt like setbacks has only propelled you forward in a way that is, quite frankly, has been amazing, right? And I keep saying it, but it has been necessary to your growth, and it's very evident of that. And I'm super excited for people to see that. And I've shared stories on here all the time about things that I feel like I fell short in, right? But we have these life lessons in order to really move forward. There's a friend of mine who has a podcast. He calls it wins and lessons, not wins and losses. He says wins and lessons. He said every time you lose, it's a lesson in that, right?
Amen.
And so there's a huge thing. So let's get to the final few questions I have for you. I ask these 3 questions all the time for people because I think it's important to understand a person and how they process information. Well, so what are you reading? What are you looking into? What are some of the things? And also too, I think obviously everybody learns different, right? Some people are actually reading books. Some people listen to audiobooks. Some people are watching stuff. How are you availing yourself to more information? How are you growing and becoming better?
I consume knowledge in every form. It's funny because I literally had this in my backpack. Like
Oh, wow.
UOU by Dr. Eric Thomas. This book is so good, bro. This book is so good. I've listened to the audio book. I was like, nah, I need a physical. And I rarely get physicals. Because I'm typically either audiobook or ebook. But I got the actual hardcover of this book because it is so good. So this is like the main one, UOU. That's what I've been like really holding in on because he just talks about like some accountability stuff and just understanding your gift, understanding your calling, and like not slacking up on it for like better times. And it was like the shot of coffee I needed in the morning that to wake up, and that book was incredible. But I'll say some books that I've read that have like helped me a whole lot was, of course, like the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, but also Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. That book was so instrumental because it applied this like the stuff Napoleon Hill talks about, but I got to see people that look like me that excelled. And not just present day people, like people in the that came before us, like people in the 20s, 30s, etc. And it's like if they could do that then, who am I not to do what I'm capable of doing now?
Right.
I'll say like a really good marketing book, I believe, is Crushing It by Gary Vee, just because it like basically covers all like Gary's core principles, and it just talks about how you can like dominate on social media, which is really it's very helpful. And man, I could go on and on. I've read so many books. Contagious by Jonah Berger is a good one. The $100 Startup by Chris Gillibrew. I hope I pronounced his last name right, but that was one of the books I read when I started the Thai brand because it showed me I didn't have to have a whole lot of money to get started. A lot of us think we have to have a whole lot of whatever it is.
Come on, Henry.
Start. You don't. Man. You don't.
No.
And there's some people that like suffer. I say suffer from like perfectionism or suffer from the idea that everything has to be perfect again before you start. And that was something I had to unlearn, and I'm glad I unlearned it.
Yes.
Because nothing is perfect the first try. The only time in history I know of when something was perfect on the first go around is when God said, "Let there be light."
Yeah.
That's the only time I've known of when something was perfect from just one take. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Henry, man, you touching on something, and I'm gonna just comment real quick because I got 2 more questions for you. But you're right, because what we don't understand is people need to see your progression. Like they need to see it go from one space to another. Like that actually is important. And the reverse happened to me. My first season of Leading with Lee, from production value, it was incredible because one of my best friends from college, he was a videographer and photographer. So he knew what he was doing, right? Like he had the cameras, he had all this stuff. Like it's incredible. If you see the second season, it does not look the same. Here's what's interesting about this season of Leading with Lee. And I will tell you this because I appreciate you so much, Henry. And I haven't said this. I want to say this on the podcast because I want you to know this. I appreciate you because there's a conversation that we had either earlier this year or sometime late last year. And I have been struggling to get Leading as a podcast version, right? Like I have been struggling. Like I had lost all connection. I had used one site that I'm not going to call them out, but Spreaker. Anyways, I had used a platform that I didn't have access to the account to, and we had a conversation about using another platform, and it was super helpful for me because it actually gave me the confidence to try again. And I had literally have relegated Leading with Lee to just doing it on YouTube. I had just just did it on YouTube, and I was just using Zoom. I didn't have an external camera. I didn't have anything because my buddy got married, and so I had to try to figure out how to do it and still do it, try to make it be well. But I felt like the production quality went down from the first season to the second season because it wasn't the same, right? And I had gotten in my feelings about that, but then I realized but people saw my progression because by the mid part or later part of the season, I had made some extra money. I had done a project from the credit union I worked for, so I had the capital to go buy a camera, and I had buy lights. Like all the things that I have now is because I was exposed to a certain level that I could use, but at the same time, I still didn't let it still didn't prevent me from keep doing what I was doing, right? Because it was about getting it done. And I think that's a great insight. So let me get to the last two questions because I really got to get you out of here, man. Like I said, it's been great. But talk to me about how are you paying it forward? I was asked this question by a woman I used to work for. Like I said, I talk about all the time. I used to work for a credit union called TTCU Federal Credit Union when I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And one of the executives, she was our senior executive over human resources. Her name is Celia Armstrong, I'm sorry. And she did something for me that literally changed my life and really, really put me on a path to where I am now. And she would, after she did what she did, she always said, Lee, I want you to pay it forward. So what is something you're doing that you feel like you're investing in somebody else's life as a result of you receiving some information or opportunities?
And I'll say the biggest thing I do is no matter what space I'm in, just providing value. Whether that's again, like you reach out to me, we had our conversation, like sharing the information I have, like that's how I pay it forward because I know again information changes situations, and people perish from a lack of knowledge. So who am I to like gatekeep information? Like, who am I to do that? Especially if I was going to help you become more of who you called to be, help you to walk that out. Like, I'm going to share it. Again, like, I just thought of some more tools. Like, for people, if you're doing video editing on your phone, you want to create content on the go, there's CapCut, there's InShot, and those are the main two I've used. And you can, like, edit videos, add captions, do all the cool transitions. There's one called Video Leap as well. It's like doing stuff like that. That's how I pay it forward. Just sharing information. Because again, who am I to gatekeep it? Especially when the information's already out there.
Hello.
Why don't I help you accelerate your journey instead of spending the time I spent trying to learn stuff? I'm gonna just tell you so you can do the thing so we all can win together. Because there's enough for everybody.
Yes, that's so great, Henry. So I'm getting to my last question. This is always my fun question. I love asking this question. If there was a song you would use to describe yourself, tell me what the song is and actually tell me why. What song would you use to describe yourself and why?
So I actually have two. The first one is kind of funny and it ain't
Listen, people give me ratchet songs. I don't care what your song is.
No, I was just gonna say because the song it's amazing by Kanye and Jeezy. Like it's amazing, so amazing, and that's like self-explanatory because that was like my anthem. Like everything's amazing, I'm amazing, et cetera, right? But the one that's really been speaking to me lately is by this guy named Thomas Austin, who's a phenomenal artist. But it's called Made For It, and it's just talking about like how the goals and desires that we want, like we're built for this. especially because of the things we went through across the journey. Like all of it has made us to where we're made for the thing we want, no matter what that looks like. You were built for it, you made for it, like you prayed for it. You like, I just love that song. It's really been like the anthem of the seasons that I've been in lately, and the season that I'm stepping to for 2023.
Man, Henry, my God, bro, it has been incredible just talking to you and hearing about your story and hearing about how people can step out and be the people that they were created to be. And I really, really believe people are going to be inspired and empowered. So thank you for coming on, bro. Everybody, make sure you give it up for Henry Amazing Goss Jr. My God, thank you, bro.
Thank you. Be easy.
Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee. If you have not done it yet, subscribe on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. If you want to get more information and connect with me, visit me at www.leeascott.com or follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lee A. Scott II or Lee A. Scott II. So, thank you for watching. Much love, and let's get started.